Hi everyone, Ashley here and welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing this card that I made as part of Heffy Doodle's new release blog hop. So this is a big celebration with lots of different bloggers and card designers to showcase some of the new released products from Heffy Doodle. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm starting with this gorgeous hot air balloon die, and I'm going to make a hot air balloon as you could see in the card preview. So I'm going to show you the die close up. This is what it looks like. You get all these different parts to make an adorable hot air balloon. I will quickly note that this die was a sample provided to me by Heffy Doodle, so there might be some slight differences to the product that you get, but it should still make the same exact hot air balloon. Okay, so first you get this big balloon die, and that cuts out the main part of the balloon. So you can see here, I cut this out of a light sort of peachy cardstock. For mine, I went for pastel colors, but the cool thing about this is you can really go for any color combination and it would be super cute. So in addition to that big balloon die, you also get these two sort of balloon side pieces, I'm going to call them, and they sort of create that design on the balloon. So what you do is you cut a piece of cardstock with the big balloon die, and then you cut it a second time with those side pieces. And then you can get this sort of fun curved design that you can overlay onto the balloon piece and create a multicolor look. So for this one, I cut the big balloon die out of pink, and then I cut the side pieces to create that sort of inner pink part. Then you have this little oval die that creates a small oval that will go at the top of the balloon just to kind of give it a finished look. And then you also have a small sort of curved rectangle piece that is meant to go at the bottom of the balloon. And again, that kind of just finishes off the look of the hot air balloon, kind of giving it a topper and a bottom piece. I cut these both out of the same peach cardstock as the base of the balloon just to kind of keep it all consistent, but you could cut these out of different colors too and it would still look really nice. So you can kind of choose and play around with how multicolored you want this balloon to be with all these different pieces. Next you have these two dies that create the basket. So I cut these out of light brown cardstock, but again, you can choose any color. And so that bigger piece creates sort of the main part of the basket, and the smaller piece just creates the nice detail at the top of the basket. So I'm just laying those down here, and you can kind of see how they fit together to create a little basket. And you'll see me gluing all these pieces together later. So don't worry about that right now. I'm just sort of laying them down on my work surface, and then you'll see how they all come together in a little bit. Okay, next you have this long, thin rectangle, and I've cut this out of white cardstock 4 times, and this creates the strings that attach the basket to the balloon. You can cut this out as many times as you want. You could have just 2 strings, you could have 3. I cut out 4 just to kind of add a little bit of extra fun detail, but again, you can do this as many times as you want, and again, in any color that you want. Next you have this banner die, which cuts out this white banner, or I cut it out of white, again you can use any color, and that's meant to go across the balloon. It's just a nice little added detail and decoration. So that is the piece that has the 4 little banners on it, and then there's another die that has 2 little banners on it. And the idea here is that this cuts out a piece that will fit better onto those side pieces of the balloon. So if you've made your balloon shaped like me by adding those side pieces sort of towards the middle, so you have sort of that big pink section of the balloon in the middle and then the 2 side sections of the balloon in orange, you can use this little banner to add a little banner die to add a little banner to each of those side pieces quite easily. You could also do this by just cutting down the larger banner to whatever size you need. Okay, so getting down to the end here, finally there's some decoration for the basket. So this is sort of a scalloped die that creates a rope shape. So this is just meant to be, I think, like a rope that kind of hangs over the side of the basket. And I've just cut that out of some white cardstock again, but you can use any color. Then there's a die that creates a little triangle. Now this might be different in your purchase set. I believe Leslie mentioned that she was going to be changing up this die to make it so that it cuts multiple triangles at once. But whatever it is, it will cut out these little triangle shapes that you can cut out of colors and add to your banner. And finally, there's this little tiny ballast die, and that just cuts out these little sandbags that you can hang off the edge of your basket, kind of connected to the rope, and that sort of weighs down the basket of the hot air balloon. Actually, I didn't know that was how hot air balloons worked. I had to Google it while I was making this video. So, fun fact for you, hot air balloons often have sandbags that hang off the edge, so that is what that little die is for. Okay, so like I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and start gluing all of these pieces together so you can see how they're actually meant to go together. So first I'm gluing this little extra side piece of the balloon down right on top. So I, again, cut that out of pink using those 2 side pieces for the balloon, and then I can cut it on top, and it kind of makes it look like the balloon has 3 sections to it. So the 2 peach sections and then the pink section. Now I'm taking this small oval balloon topper and gluing that right on top of the balloon into the center. And next I'll take the little rectangle piece and glue it onto the bottom. And for all of this, I'm just using a bit of liquid glue to put everything together. You can use any kind of adhesive you want for this. And I'm just using my tweezers to make sure I line everything up nice and straight. So once those are added, that balloon part is basically done, at least the structure of it. Then I'm moving on to the basket. So I'm adding that decorative topper onto the basket and just gluing them together. Next, I'll move on to the decorative pieces of the basket. So I've got this scalloped rope piece, which again I cut out of white cardstock. And I'm just gluing that straight down onto the basket to make it look like it's hanging off the edge. Then I can do the same thing with these little pink sandbags. I actually cut 3 of those out, so I just ran the die through 3 times with some pink cardstock to match the balloon. And I'm just gluing each one down onto a piece of the hanging rope. And I think these are so cute and they add such a nice little detail to the basket. I've seen people do a lot of fun things with these baskets too. You can cut them out of sort of wood grain cardstock or emboss them to make them have even more dimension and detail. So I'm just attaching the basket to the balloon now using these long strips, which again I cut out of that long rectangular die. Just adding a little bit of glue to the top and bottom and then putting the top on the balloon and the bottom on the basket. And I'm gluing these to the back so you don't see where that glue is. You just see the strings sort of peeking through at the front. Now, when I finished this, I actually wasn't happy with how far away that basket was, and you'll see later in the video that I do change that. Okay, so now I'm taking my white banners and gluing on the colored banner bits onto each one just to give a little bit of color, and I really like how when you do it this way, you get that sort of edge peeking out. So I get the white edge from the base of the cardstock peeking out, which I think is really nice. I just cut these little banner bits out of some nice soft purple, and I just kept it the same color, but again, you can use multicolor for this. It'd be really fun to have like a rainbow banner or just different colors sort of alternating. And once I'm done that, I can then glue these banners straight onto the balloon. So I'm just again using some liquid glue and just gluing that sort of 4-piece banner into the middle and then the 2-piece banners onto the sides. You could also experiment with using some dimension for these. It'd be fun to add sort of some foam squares behind these to really make them pop. So that is the final balloon with everything glued together in all the little pieces, and I just love all the detail that you get with all these extra little decoration pieces that you can add on, and really the possibilities with colors are endless, which is super fun. Now, to add this into a card, I knew I wanted a bunch of different things flying around in the sky around it, so I stamped out a bunch of planes from the new Flying High stamp set by Heffy Doodle, as well as this adorable little bear, really its head and its little hands sort of peeking out because I'm going to put the bear into the basket. So this bear will be flying in the hot air balloon. And that bear comes from a different new stamp set by Heffy Doodle, which has some few Get Well images, which are really cute. Okay, so here I am shortening this basket because I thought it was too far away from the balloon. So if that happens to you, it's super easy. All you have to do is snip those strings and re-glue them. And since it's on the back, you will never see. So I decided to make it a bit closer, and I really like how it turned out. So now I'm going ahead and stenciling the background for this card, and I'm using a cloud stencil with some light blue Distress Oxide ink and just rotating the stencil each time and going up the panel until I get the full panel of clouds. By the way, I should mention you saw a whole bunch of images stamped out earlier. I did go ahead and color them off camera, but I didn't end up using them on the card, as you'll see as we go along, so that's why I didn't show you the coloring. Anyways, we'll get there in a few minutes. Okay, so I'm going ahead and stamping out the sentiment. So I'm stamping out a banner that comes from an older Heffy Doodle stamp set with a sentiment from the Flying High stamp set. So it's really fun. There's a bunch of sentiments in the new stamp set that fit in those old banners. So if you do have that banner stamp set, this new stamp set with these new sentiments will fit in those banners, which is really fun and a good way to get more use out of your sets. So I stamped out Flying By to say hi. Okay, so I've got my slimline card base, and then I cut out a piece of white cardstock using the new Heffy Doodle die Slimline Silly Slants. And I'm gluing that onto the card base with some liquid glue. Of course, with that cloud piece in between. So you see the cloud sort of peeking through those silly slants. And I just thought that this gave sort of a nice detail. So something a little bit different than just a plain cloudy sky. Now you get these fun slants. Off camera, I also cut out a whole bunch of clouds from the Big Stitched Clouds stamp set, die set, again new from Heffy Doodle. And as you can see, I do have a few heart stamps and a couple of the birds that came in the Flying High stamp set too that I've sort of scattered throughout the sky. So throughout the sky, I have the clouds, a couple birds, and a couple of hearts. I put some foam behind this whole hot air balloon so that it sticks up from the panel of my card, and then I can go through and just continue to glue all of the other little bits down around it. I made sure to glue some of the clouds and other things behind the hot air balloon, and then I glued some on top so that it's not just that everything is behind the hot air balloon. It sort of looks like the hot air balloon is really integrated into this scene with things sort of in front and behind it, which I thought was a really fun way to sort of arrange the scene. So again, I've got that slimline card base, I've got the cloudy stenciled panel, then I have the slimline silly slants, and then all of the elements on top of it, including a bunch of the big stitch clouds, some of which I cut out of glitter cardstock, as you can see, some of which I stamped from the Flying High stamp set, a few other images from the Flying High stamp set, as well as a sentiment from the Flying High stamp set, and then that cute hot air balloon with a little bear sitting in it from the Get Well Soon stamp set. By the way, all of the products I'm using from Heffy Doodle are linked down in my description box below the video, so make sure to check that out. Now this is the final card. I'm going to bring it a bit closer so you can see, and I'll rotate it a little bit, but I really love how cute that hot air balloon looks in the pastel colors, and again, I really love how limitless the options are when it comes to colors for that hot air balloon. I think it's going to be really fun to play with. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out the other stops along the hop because I do believe there are giveaways. Check out my video description for all of the information, including where to go next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!